My apologies because I'm definitely getting this content out to you guys a little bit later than I typically would like to get it out to you guys. We had some wildness go on in my life earlier today. If you want to get more of a detailed explanation, just go follow me on Instagram. You'll see everything there. I want to shout out our latest Mike Mafia soldiers, Tony Jakimaki and Alex Escalera, for joining on the Mike Mafia soldier tier. And now that we get all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? So a few days ago, we got some pretty crazy news about JJ Watt, one of the faces of the Houston Texans franchise, if not the greatest Houston Texan of all time. The Houston Texans essentially did the unthinkable with JJ Watt. Ever since the 2017 NFL draft, the Houston Texans hit an all-time high point drafting Deshaun Watson, and from that moment on, they just continued to trend downward from that point and on. Not re-signing Dwayne Brown left a wide open hole at the left tackle position, which resulted in the Houston Texans needing to give up 2 first-round draft picks for Laremy Tunsil, which they didn't have to do, by the way, but since Bill O'Brien thought he was a general manager, he felt like it was absolutely necessary to give up 2 first-round draft picks to bring in Laremy Tunsil. Now, one of those draft picks ended up being the number 3 overall in this year's NFL draft, but we're not done there, guys. Jadeveon Clowney was traded for mere peanuts a day later to the Seattle Seahawks, which, by the way, was the number 1 overall pick in the deepest draft that we've seen over the past 7 years. But man, it gets way worse than that. If you thought that was horrible, wait until you hear about this. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you know what I'm about to say here. The Houston Texans eventually decided, hey, that DeAndre Hopkins guy, Nuke Hopkins, who is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL, we don't really need him. Let's trade him to the Arizona Cardinals for David Johnson and not even get a first-round pick back from them, get a second-round pick back from them. And then let's take that second-round pick that we just got for DeAndre Hopkins, which, by the way, Bill O'Brien said that the reason why he made that trade was because he was worried about the cap hit DeAndre Hopkins would have on them. Let's trade that second-round pick we got from the Arizona Cardinals to the LA Rams and bring in Brandon Cooks, who, by the way, fits the same type of mold of wide receiver as Randall Cobb does. Now, Deshaun Watson, being the amazing transcendent talent that he is, still put up career numbers this year despite having a head coaching change in the middle of the season, having a subpar and injured wide receiver core, and having practically no weapons to work with. As a matter of fact, things got so bad that JJ Watt at some point went to Deshaun Watson and said,
"Good job, brother. I'm sorry. We wasted one of your years. I'm sorry."
Now the Texans are in this really strange situation where they claim that they're not trading Deshaun Watson, but Deshaun Watson says that he's not going to report to camp. He's not going to play for the Houston Texans anymore. And frankly, I can't blame him, because if Deshaun Watson stays with the Houston Texans, he's essentially going to turn into the next coming of Carson Palmer or Matthew Stafford. We're starting to see some player empowerment in the NFL, which I think is extremely important, because the NFL is significantly more volatile in terms of your ability to win a Super Bowl. We've seen Aaron Rodgers win 1 Super Bowl over the past 13 years. Despite being a top 3 talent at the quarterback position. Things got even worse for the Houston Texans when they decided to completely release JJ Watt. Now look, I think it was really classy that they released JJ Watt and let him decide where he wanted to go to for his next destination. I think it would have been a little bit better if they worked with the potential team that he's interested in to try to trade JJ Watt to that team for at least a 4th round or a 3rd round pick. Lord knows the Houston Texans need it right now. But that's not what this video is about, nor is it about more Deshaun Watson speculation. We have some news about the JJ Watt situation. Now that he's been officially bought out by the Houston Texans, the question looms about where do you think JJ Watt is going to go? Initially, when he originally got bought out, there were 2 situations that made a lot of sense. One was the Pittsburgh Steelers, because his younger brother TJ Watt is one of the faces of that defense, and it would be a lot of fun to team up with your little brother to try to rush the quarterback. Have one Watt on one end and another Watt on the other end. Having a voice like JJ Watt in the locker room would probably really do a lot for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who could use a vocal leader in that locker room on a team that really prioritizes TikTok dances. On the other hand, he could go and play with the Green Bay Packers, who are in his hometown of Wisconsin, which would give Aaron Rodgers a little boost on the defensive end. But I don't think JJ Watt is going to fix all their problems, and on top of that, the Green Bay Packers have a lot of other question marks that they need to fill themselves this offseason because they have a ton of players that they need to attempt to retain, including their running backs Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. Well, JJ Watt came out and kind of surprised a bunch of us by declaring his interest in one particular team, and that is the Cleveland Browns. Now, when you first think about it, you're like, why the Browns? And the reason JJ Watt gives and why I actually think JJ Watt wants to go there is two separate things. JJ Watt said that he wants to join the Cleveland Browns because of their rise as a result of finally hitting on their head coach, Kevin Stefanski. In order for Kevin Stefanski's system to work, you need to have a potent rushing attack. And with every potent rushing attack, if you're able to complement that with a suffocating defense, not only are you able to control the clock and score touchdowns and put pressure on the opposing offense, but you can also limit that opposing offense from scoring, which essentially is what the Dallas Cowboys did in 2016. They had a good defense, a suffocating run attack. That's the last time I saw my Cowboys being actually successful in any capacity whatsoever, and I believe that's what the Browns are trying to emulate. It's a proven formula that's worked time and time again. It's actually a formula that works in each and every single era of football. Score touchdowns, control the clock, and have a defense that can shut down the opposing offense. But there's an additional element to this. You see, the Cleveland Browns have $22 million in cap space to work with. They also have a soon-to-be free agent in Olivier Vernon that they're probably not going to retain. And on the other side of JJ Watt will be a player that is probably going to be getting more attention than JJ Watt. The former number 1 overall pick of the 2017 NFL Draft, Myles Garrett, who was an All-Pro in 2020, had a team-high 12 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries in 14 games. Now, JJ Watt has teamed up with a former number 1 overall pick before, the number 1 overall pick in the 2014 draft, Jadeveon Clowney. But Jadeveon Clowney wasn't really a pass rusher. JJ Watt could potentially go to a contending team in the Cleveland Browns, team up with another remarkable edge rusher, which will result in him getting less double teams, and still get a nice paycheck as a result of it. On top of that, the Cleveland Browns are a fairly young and volatile bunch. I love them, and I think they're really trending upwards, but a locker room with Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. could definitely use a grizzled veteran like JJ Watt in the locker room. I personally think this makes perfectly good sense. It checks off all of JJ Watt's boxes. He's going to be able to get paid. He's going to be able to contend. He's going to be able to team up with other stars, and he does put himself in a situation where he could finally potentially win a Super Bowl and be a hero for the city of Cleveland. That defense is stacked with the likes of Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, JJ Watt. Sheldon Richardson may not be the player he once was, but he used to be an absolute stud that can't be neglected as a defensive tackle as well. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about JJ Watt potentially going to the Browns? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.